Hello, I'm Dr. Jeff Alexander. Why do we suffer? I always lead just about every one of these videos with the questions that I get asked the most, and this is really up there, is why would we, as a human being, suffer? My first answer to that is, if you think about it, when you're born into this world, you're not born to suffer. You are born to enjoy the adventure that we have as we grow up. I've raised 6 kids, and watching the children when they were really small, every day was filled with curiosity into their new universe. How can they explore? Yeah, sometimes you fall down and hurt your knee, and you get right back up, and they notice that the recovery time was really quick. And then as they got older and older and older, it seemed like they started to take on beliefs that sometimes would not be healthy. And my job as being a dad that I hope to think myself as conscious will help guide them, not take away the suffering, because suffering could be a tremendous curriculum of growth. It's just not my preferred curriculum, and I know this because I have suffered. Why do we suffer? Well, let me share with you a true story that really changed this around forever for me. I was a senior in 1977 at UCLA Dental Medical School. And one of the things I did back then was I volunteered to go to the 7th floor in the medical center where that was the terminal ward. Now they don't call it that anymore, but they literally had a sign above the doorway that said terminal ward. If you go to the right, that's where children were sent that had 3 to 6 months left to live. If you go to the left, that's where all the adults went who had 3 to 6 months left to live. So literally there was like a death sentence that when you went through those doors, you can imagine being 5 years old wondering what that is. Some of these kids couldn't even read, and they said, and they would be explained to them that this is where the children who are very, very sick go. And so this already would start to create a belief structure that I thought wasn't the most healthy, especially for a young child. So I purposely found myself volunteering to go and help these people who were most of the time bedridden, the children especially, and needing some fun stuff to happen. When I go to the adult side, let's just say that there was a guy in bed number 1. He was 42 years old. He had pancreatic cancer. They told him he had 3 to 4 months left to live. He was in a lot of pain, a lot of tubes coming out of holes in his body, and he was one of the most angry people I've ever met in my life. His way of getting the attention of the nurses was throwing a bedpan across the room. He would scream, he would yell. He was not a fun guy to be around. When his wife showed up with their teenage sons, there was arguing. Within seconds, there'd be arguing. There'd be blame. He was really upset about his condition. I forced myself one afternoon to go over to him and see if I could bring some comfort, and I talked to him, and he was really, really upset. And he told me, he goes, you know what, I gotta tell you, I got a bum rap here. He goes, I'm never gonna see my kids graduate high school. I'm never gonna see them get married. I'll never hold my grandkid. There was a lot of all of the limitations of what his condition was. Now I wanna tell you something, I understand. I had no idea what it would be like to be on that death sentence like he was. Now, if you go down to bed number 7, there was another gentleman there. He was 43 years old, pancreatic cancer, same kind of cancer as bed 1, excruciating pain. He was bedridden also. Now, when I go down there, he was reading poetry to the nurses. He was the most beautiful guy to talk to. When his wife showed up, he had 2 teenage daughters. I would go down there and see him, and all of them would be piled on top of his bed. They'd be quiet, just holding each other, sometimes looking at each other in silence, and so much love that you couldn't help but feel it from across the room. And he was wonderful to talk to. He was encouraging. He'd force himself to get into the wheelchair and join me over to the kids' side and tell stories to the children. So I went to him, and I found myself wanting to hang out with him more than the guy in bed number 1. I went up to him, and I finally got the courage one afternoon to ask him, how do you do this? How do you stay so positive, so caring, so considerate of the people around you? And he looked at me and goes, oh, it wasn't always that way. I was terrified. and I was angry. And he said, I was like that guy over in bed number 1. And then I made a choice. And I said, well, what was that? He said, I asked myself, how do I want to live the remaining part of my life? And I knew that I had a choice to make. I said, that's it? You just made a choice? And he goes, oh no, it was the most difficult decision of my life. There was this tendency to constantly reflect back the true condition and how I was running out of time. So it was a battle every single day, but I made that choice sometimes 1,000 times a day. Until what would happen, I stayed longer and longer and longer in the space that I wanted to create, not the space I thought I had to be in. And so he found himself being in this new energy that literally changed the lives of a lot of people on that floor. When I heard that, something shifted inside of me, and I realized the power of the mind to go down a certain pathway that, when left unattended, will go into autopilot. And sometimes misery and sometimes suffering is a result of that. You see, suffering is not due to the conditions in your life. It's not due to the cancer, to the circumstances that are out there. Suffering is due to the perceptions, the beliefs we have about the conditions in your life. Both men were in pain. Both men had a terminal illness. Both men today are no longer here. They've been gone a long time. But when I think back on that episode, only one of them was suffering, not the other one. You see, pain is an experience. Pain can be a wake-up call. Pain can be a signpost to go a certain direction. Suffering is a choice. Remember that you have a choice, and suffering is ignoring the lesson that the pain brings you. I hope this helps, and I want you to understand something. You all have a choice. The minute that this video is over, the next choice comes forward. Pain gives us a choice in life. And when that choice comes forward, the desire to live a life of love, to live a life of compassion, appreciation, and care, you automatically will invite the very thing that my friend in bed 7 got to live in. You invite a whole new way of seeing your condition. So I hope this helps. Join us at the next Ignite Your Life class, where you get a chance to literally know that not only do you have choices, but you'll be able to experience how to make those choices with authority and with power. Thank you. Hi, if you really like that video, please subscribe. That way you can get notifications of future videos I'm excited to share with you. Also, feel free to comment below. I get a lot of the subject matter from you, so I can address the topics that you want to hear the most about. And if you want to know more about our live events, go to my website listed below. Looking forward to meeting you in person.